Okay, good afternoon, my hero fans. Today we have our review of episode 88, his start, which was just a well executed episode, a well put together episode as far as flow, storytelling, some in depth character development, and of course character redemption. It was just like I said, a well put together episode with all that in mind. And probably one of the better episodes of the season. Uh, really blew my mind away as far as action, as far as again storytelling, and as far as the character development. We saw a lot of breakthrough with Endeavor, and more with Hawks. Also, more of what he's all about, more of what Endeavor is becoming about. But with all that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the breakdown, the review of this episode. So it starts off in our intro section, right? We actually have Shoto's family, his older siblings. I think he has older brother named Natsu, and I think the sister's name is Numi, something like that. I could be wrong, but it starts out they're visiting their mother, right, who's in this home because of the turmoil and troubles that she went through with her husband, right, Endeavor. So they're visiting her, just kind of doing a general visit. They're asking about how she's been. She goes on to say, well, getting these letters from your brother Shudo. He's talking about his provisional license training that he's making up, trying to catch up to his teammates and classmates at the UA. And then Natsu briefly mentions, he didn't say his dad, he didn't say father, he says he. He says, he has become the number one hero now. Of course, referring to Endeavor. And, he goes on to talk about his thoughts on how he was treated, and the things that he did to his family, and how he could, how could these people be rooting for him, right? They don't know the real him, is what, he's pretty getting at, what he's getting at, They don't know the behind closed doors Endeavor. And the sister, she kind of vouches for Endeavor, and the mom does too, It's kind of like we have one of those situations where, this guy, he just made some mistakes. He got caught up in his own obsession with surpassing All Might, and he did a lot of terrible shit because of it, to his family. So you get this kind of feeling, right, that they know that he did wrong, but they're not holding it completely against him. They are being, I guess, they are forgiving him somewhat for what he's done, and the mother realizes that deep down, he probably feels bad about it. And he is trying to make amends for what he's done. She mentions that he brings her these flowers, that her favorite flowers. And even though he doesn't get to see her because the doctors are still trying to get her mentally built back together, she knows that they're from him, and she knows that she only mentioned that to him once. That was her favorite flower. So for him to remember that and to still bring them, he's not completely a d-bag, right? Sorry, I'm also enjoying a drink. But with that said, so we flash right after the introduction, after the intro theme song, all that. We get back to the fight, right? So taking it back from where we left off, Endeavor was fighting this monster, right? He launched an attack on him in the previous episode that left the monster, dismembered and burned up. And as we see, the monster regenerates, right? Fully heals. And as he's healing, he says, something like, oh, you don't think that attack's what's going to kill me, right? Like, it's going to take more than that. Like, oh, you can't just kill me with that attack. You know that, right? Something like that lines. So Endeavor realizes that this monster that he's fighting is different than the one he's faced before, right? He faced another one back in the, I believe it was the Hero Killer Stain arc. Another black colored Normu. Is it Normu? Namuru? Sorry. But either way, he remembers back to where he faced it, right? He knows that the other ones that were lighter skinned were weaker. The ones with the paler skin, they were weak, but the ones with the darker skin were different. But the one that he's facing now is even special among the special ones, right? He's like an elite, I guess you say. The elite of the elite, because not only is he showing all these different quirks, but he's also got a voice. He can speak. So he's taunting Endeavor. Endeavor knows right away that this is going to be a difficult fight, right? He knows that this thing's different than what he's faced, and he just tried to adjust. So they continue their fight, and the building's just getting completely destroyed, right, from where they started the fight. Um, Endeavor does this attack, and it's called Hell Spider, I believe, right? He does this Hell Spider attack, tears the building apart. As this building's getting destroyed, Hawks shows up, right? And he's using his quirk because he's got to save the people that are getting caught up in this. So as the building's getting destroyed in Pommel, he's sending out his feathers to catch these people and bring them to safety. He realizes that he might not be able to get everybody out, but he's at least going to save the people from the part that's extremely damaged, right? The top half of the building that's falling down towards the city. So he saves all those people. The fight's going on. Of course, Endeavor's using his stronger attacks. Cuts the building into the top building to like pieces, right? Uses this Hell Spider attack. So that seems a little relatively weak at first, right? And of course, the Nun was just there tanking it and taunting him about it. Of course, he does that whip where he just annihilates the whole building, chopping it up into small pieces. But the monster does survive that attack as well. And then winds up spitting out weaker normal to attack. So at this point in time, this monster spits out these sub-monsters. I'll just call them sub-monsters. Of course, they're attacking the city. Hawks is occupied trying to fight these things, as well as two other lower-class heroes, I presume, are also providing backup and support for the city, fighting these normal as well. So as the fight goes on, and like I said, Endeavor used his strong attack to cut this monster to pieces. But like I said, the monster survives, and then it's revealed that Endeavor's body actually he overheats, right? As he's using his strong attacks, it's taxing on his body. So he's using these special attacks, but his temperature in his body's rising up, and he's losing function of it. So the more power he uses, the quicker this is going to happen to him, right? He's using his heat, and then it overheats his body, and he just can't function. He loses the functionability of his body, of his muscles. So he becomes weaker. That's his weak point, right? Sorry. So as he's describing what's happening, you get this scene. He's like, this is why I did it. This is why I had to do this. And of course it flashes to Shoto, right? He's half fire and he's half ice. And I believe also with Shoto in a previous episode, it was, because he don't want to use his fire side, but I think it was also, if he used his ice power too much, then his body was getting too cold. So, anyway, putting that together, it makes more sense that Endeavor had this idea for him to be engineered to use these two quirks to keep his body temperature regulated as he, used both of these quirks, and therefore eliminating either overheating or a freezing of his body, right? If he's using the ice too much, then his body's going to get cold, but he can use that heat side to counter the effects of that, and vice versa with the heat side, right? If he decided to use his fire and explosions and his heat and all that, then he could cool his body, his core and his temperature, and keep that regulated. So that's pretty much what I got from it. He wants to use all this, and that's why Endeavor engineered him, quote unquote, that way, so he didn't have to worry about getting tired or getting his body taxed by his abilities, and he could keep going, right? So you can see Endeavor's mindset in these, right? Why he was pushing it so hard, how he became so obsessed with surpassing All Might, and why he became pretty much a dick to his family, because he was putting aside the things that were supposed to be important for a pipe dream that he was having. So with that being said, he's digging deep and he's trying to pull out all the stops. He wants to win this fight, and he wants to show everybody that he has what it takes to be number one, that he can be this simple. Of course, all that's unstated, but we'll just get back to it. So he gets right back to this monster. He has this way to incinerate him so quickly that his regeneration will not be enough to save him. He uses what he calls Prominence Burn, a huge blazing fire attack that looks both hot and deadly, extremely deadly, to ignite this monster, right? So he lands it. It looks like a clean shot. He's taking a sigh of relief. But then it reveals that it wasn't enough. The monster actually tears its head off, I believe. Yeah. He tears his head off and throws it right before he's incinerated, right? So the head of this monster is pretty much, I guess, where its weak point would be. Like, you'll destroy the head, you get rid of the rest of the body. So anyway, this monster can you imagine ripping your own head off of your body and just chucking it to avoid an attack and then just regrow from there? It takes a pair to do that, I believe, because monster or not, that doesn't sound comfortable to do yourself. Any type of mutilation, self-mutilation, I doubt it's as comfortable. But, like I said, you ensure your survival in the heat of battle. This monster ripped his head off, threw it to the side, took the hit, and then regrew itself, right? So it regrows itself, and as it does that, and as Endeavor realizes that he threw his head to the side, he receives a huge, devastating blow. He gets a huge hit on him. The Normal regenerates, attacks him, damn near kills him, it seems like. Seems like it's the end. He's hit pretty hard. And you get a little bit more info. It flashes to a scene, back to a scene where Endeavor promises Shoto that he will become a hero that his son's going to be proud of, and he will do what it takes to be that hero. And so you get these more scenes as of course, because his family's watching the news. This thing's going down. They have live TV playing, and you see flashes of his older son and daughter. They're watching, and the son's like, "Man, just give up. Just wait for your reinforcements. Throw in the towel." Of course, the daughter was like, "Hey, man, this dude's not like that. He's stubborn. He wants to do this. He wants to be the number one hero, and he's not the type to wait for help or the type that thinks he needs help, right?" So as the helicopter goes by, they're explaining the scene. They're comparing similarities, right, to the incident in Camino where we saw All Might's final battle so with the All For One. Right? So this is going down. Everybody's, just wondering what's going on. The news is going. Endeavor gets back up using his sheer will. He flies towards the Normal again. Normal just kind of throws him off to the side, right? "Hey, you're too slow." Throws him off to the side. He hits the wall. And then, so all's pretty much becoming lost. People are giving up hope. They think that this is just going to be the end of Endeavor. And they're for sure not, they know All Might's not going to be around. And they're all panicking. They still feel like there's no symbol for them to get behind. And that these heroes are just getting outclassed. And they're all panicking. They wonder if the Age of Heroes is done for. And with that said, Endeavor gets back up again. Flies towards this Normal. The Normal's like, "Can you regenerate like me? Like, you have that ability too?" And of course, Endeavor's like, "No, I just have will. Don't compare me to you. I don't have that ability, but I have this will in me, pretty much." And he goes and he's flying towards him, trying to catch up to him. Not really getting there quick enough, as like he stated earlier, the monster is just faster and stronger than him. Of course, Hawk shows up. He's been dealing with the weaker Normal that were spawned by this monster, and he makes a reappearance. He's helping Endeavor get closer to this monster by using his ability, his Hawk's feathers. He's actually pushing him closer, right? So as he's catching up to this monster, Endeavor's charging up this attack. Aims for the head. The Normal pretty much bites his hand as he's attacking. So Endeavor lands this blow right in the Normal's mouth, and he's just incinerating his head from the inside. But this Normal's just not normal. He sits there, he's biting down, and he's just kind of flying through the air with Endeavor, right? Attaching, biting his arm down. Endeavor's like, "Man, this dude's just..." He went from being a sophisticated adversary to just being like a wild animal. He's just attacking them. He's biting down. He's not caring about what type of damage is happening to his body. And then they start flying through the air, right? He's holding them down with his. He's holding his arm down with his bite, and he's flying through the air. Um, sorry, excuse me. So with all that, he's flying through the air. He has one more plan of attack that he's going to do. He tells Hawks to use the last bit of his feathers to that's still available to him. The feathers are almost burnt all the way down to cinders now, but he uses them to start sending to change the course of the flight straight up into the air. And of course, as they're flying through the air, Endeavor's getting ready to launch his final attack on this thing. And one more attempt to just try to destroy it. He originally wanted to take it alive for questioning, but he knows that that's just not going to be an option now. This thing's too powerful for him to stop enough to keep alive and to interrogate, especially with his regeneration. He just wouldn't have the opportunity to subdue it enough for him to be able to capture it and question it. So they're flying up through the air, and he sees this thing, and Endeavor says something along the line like, where I guess you can say he wasn't too different as far as this monster, right? This monster has multiple quirks, extremely strong and powerful, and really has no regards for anything other than being strong and being powerful than any opponent. And Endeavor says something along like, you are me in a different past or a different future. I'm not too sure. So with that said, it's kind of like a realization for Endeavor. He realizes that yes, he was he was gaining mass power and he was gaining abilities, and it really blinded him. He didn't care about nothing else, and he just became a destructive force, and he destroyed pretty much anything, just as this monster that he's facing is, right? So as he finishes that, he launches his final attack. Another prominence burn, a huge prominence burn in the air. You see a huge explosion, huge burst of flames. And you see him falling back to the earth as just kind of on fire, free falling. As he lands, everybody's still in awe, right? They don't know what's going on. They don't know if he got the upper hand. They don't know if he got killed up there. So they're all watching suspense, right? Everybody's staring at their phones, staring at their televisions. The people that are there live are just all wondering. And as the smoke clears, you see Endeavor standing there with his fist raised, victorious over this monster, and showing people, similar to what All Might showed, that, he didn't give up. He didn't give up the fight. He didn't give up trying to win, and he did so heroically. He went up there. He didn't know what was going to happen, so he made a huge sacrifice to deal with this monster that could have very well taken his life, and, he wound up winning. He wound up staying standing at the end and to show these people that he has what it takes, and to show himself too that he wants to be this number one, and he's starting to know what it's like to be a true hero, right? Because like I said, he been obsessed with power and ability and suppressing All Might for most of his life, that it costed him a lot. It cost him his family's affection, and it cost him allies and the whole thing, right? And all that for him just to become the number one hero because All Might was forced in retirement probably didn't suit him very well. It didn't sit well with Endeavor. And I think after that, he just kind of realized that he was never going to catch up to All Might. And I think he finally realized the error of his ways with all that. And so you have this arc where he's kind of feeling that, right? You have the clues as a family. They have their thoughts about him. The mother talks about the flowers. Of course, he's telling Shudo that he's going to become a hero he's proud of. So he's trying to make amends. He's getting his redemption. He's getting his character development. And that's all very well and good. And like I said, the action in this episode was really good. I recommend you guys watch it. I leave my reviews kind of vague and gapped because I want you guys to see the show yourselves. I don't want to go through exact play-by-play, an exact, animation detail for animation detail. I try to describe the scenes and the events a little differently. That way you can go watch it yourself and see it for yourself, because it's better to see it for yourself. It's good to hear somebody tell you about it, but it's always better to watch it yourself because you get the whole deal, the action, the dialogue, the true emotion capture through people's voices. You get all that. And with me, I'm just giving you a quick overview about the whole episode in a nutshell. The big scenes. So we have this, right? We had this this ending happen. Like I said, it felt really good. The whole fight, the whole storytelling, the whole character development with Endeavor, him digging deep, him having to be more than just powerful, be more than just strong. He really had to figure out how to fight this monster because the monster just adapted to him, was stronger and faster, and he wound up getting it done, and he wound up letting somebody help him, which is all traits of being a true hero and of having powers. So with that said, right, we go into the end credits after well, not directly after the fight. There is a scene where Class 1A's been watching. Shoto's already pretty much a ball of anxiety. He's breathing real hard. Everybody's there for him though. His classmates are there for him. They all watch him. They know how he's feeling. And they all realize that, that Endeavor has set a new standard, right? And as he had to rise to the occasion, they too one day are going to have to rise and take over, his mantle. Or even, these pro heroes, right? This whole billboard chart, let's just say 1 through 10 top heroes. This is what Class 1A is training for, because one day it's going to be them out there, and they're going to have to sacrifice their bodies, their minds. They're going to have to think outside the box, and they're going to have to dig deep within themselves to face these tough villains, right? When they're adults, when they're pro heroes and all that. And so, you have that realization with Izuku. He realized that it's going to be their turn soon. Then the credits come. Of course, you got that nice outro at the end. Probably my favorite part of this whole episode was this post-credit scene. We have Izuku, right? Midoriya's sleeping in his room. He's in his dorm. He's sleeping down, face first. And as he's sleeping, it cuts into this dream he's having, right? So in this dream, you see his eyes and his nose exposed, and you see his left hand exposed, but the rest of him's kind of like in this haze, this greenish, darkish dream haze. You know what I'm saying? You ever had a dream and you know what you're looking at, but it's still fuzzy in your mind? Something like that, right? So he has this dream haze, and then it cuts out. It kind of pans around him, and you see the other bearers of his quirk, right? The One for All, One for All. Sorry. But anyway, you see all the past bearers, and they're all looking down on what seems to be. So only what I understand is maybe the first bearer of this quirk, right? He's there. He's at the mercy of the All for One. And there's not much dialogue. You don't get much of the scene after that. The background's kind of like they're in some kind of, distant planet. They're not really on Earth. It's more like the moon, there's space everywhere. That being said, so as you see the first bearer of the One for All kind of reaches out towards him and tells him, all you hear is, "Oh, so you're the ninth." And bam, in a flash, Izuku's dorm window cracks, breaks, and it pans out to a scene where he's breathing real hard. He just woke up in shock. His ability's running through his hand, and he's just taking 2, 3, 4 deep breaths. He's breathing really hard, looking at his hand, wondering what's going on. What did he just see? What does it mean? And then after that, it flashes to be continued in season 5. So that was the end of our season, which was a really good season. I mean, it probably one of the most developing seasons, I guess you can say. You saw a lot of development. It did go by pretty fast with main battles as far as the overhaul and the League of Villains and then the whole school festival arc. It went by pretty quick, but we saw a lot of character development with Izuku, with Midoriya, Lemillion, the whole big three. Much of Class 1A, especially with these pro heroes, you saw a lot of character development as well. And it was overall a really great season. Probably one of the best seasons of anime I've seen in a while. And what I like about the shows, they're pretty straightforward with their messages and their animation and their storytelling. A lot of animes are not. You get bits and pieces, and then it leaves you kind of contemplating whether you're getting it right or not. Um, but for me, this show's pretty straightforward. Um, there's not too much mystery going on, but there's a lot of development. You have the development between the League of, the heroes, the young Class 1A, and the League of Villains, right? Because they're all pretty much coming of age together, but it's two different dynamics, of course. And you have that development. You also have the pro hero development, right? You had All Might adjusting to his new life. You have Endeavor adjusting to his new role. You had a lot of things going on, and you had, like I said, a lot of slice of life. You saw these kids be themselves. You saw them show a very young girl who was tortured and troubled that there's a better part of this whole world, and that's what I like. I like themes like that. I love storytelling like that. It's just, it puts you in a good mood, and it's a relief from normal anime, from the whole just the whole fighting thing, the whole bloodlust, the whole I don't have much of a personality besides loving to fight type of stuff. Like I said, but all those shows are great. I'm a huge fan of any type of anime, but this show speaks volumes to me because it seems like it's really enjoyable for both kids and adults alike, and it's a relief for me. And it's a very fresh show, and I can't really wait to see more. I know the manga's probably eons ahead by now. I haven't looked too much into when the new season is going to air, but I just know it's been announced, of course, at the very end of this episode. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think about the show, about the series, and about this season. And y'all guys take it easy. Stay safe out there. Stay clean. Thank you.